Welcome to another Riga Tech Cast, and today we have two very special guests. They do know each other very well, but they do not come from the same place. Depends how you look at that. So let's start with maybe Alise, a little bit about yourself. Where do you come from? What do you do?
I am Latvian, but at the moment I am the head of the Innovation Technology Office in Switzerland. And more specifically, I'm also an Industry Liaison Officer for Latvia at CERN, European Nuclear Research Center. Very big words, but indeed it's actually big. It's the biggest physics laboratory and it hosts the largest, it's called Large Hadron Collider. It's where you take the smallest, what we have is particles, we smash them together, and very simply we try to look back into the past and discover what we're made of. But around that is a huge infrastructure, what we call big science infrastructure. So CERN is one of the large infrastructure centers in Europe. We have around 9-10 such physics labs in Europe. And arguably, well, this is one of the oldest, most prestigious one, and it's a huge international collaboration where Latvia is at the moment an associate member state. So we are going through a process similarly to getting into EU and other international organizations. We are slowly moving to become a full member. We hope that in the upcoming years we will be there. So I am tasked from Latvia, sent over there to work with industry, try to engage our companies, because, well, we'll discuss that in a moment, but that is one place where ambition is certainly something that is required, I guess, from any company, scientist, engineer, because they face a lot of challenges that they have to overcome through innovation and through innovation of technology. So yes, I'm really a liaison. I'm a bridge between this organization and Latvia.
Okay. Egita, so what about you? Where do you come from? What do you do?
All right, so I'm currently heading Latvian Innovation Technology Office in Brussels. It's an office that is also a bridge. It's a bridge between Latvian technology developers and possibilities that are given by Latvia being member to the EU. So EU is, or European Union is striving for economic development, for competitiveness, very popular word right now. We need more competitiveness, and also breakthrough technologies that will lead Europe in the world as well. And Europe has lots of challenges, and the technology is the way to overcome that. So there is quite a lot of public funding available, and my office and me personally, I'm analyzing those possibilities, and I'm being a guide around that. But prior to that, I also work in the state system for quite a while, for 10 years in fact. I was LIA, Latvian Innovation Technology, Innovation and Investment Agency's person in Amsterdam for the Netherlands. That was bilateral relations for 7 years, and now for 3 years in Brussels.
Okay, very interesting. And Alise, what were you doing before that time?
Yes, so similarly to Egita, I went through Brussels in my early career and was a stagiaire in the European Commission, and then worked for a think tank and somewhat ended up in London. I did work for another company, and then a possibility came up to work also for LIA, to be in that time I was a deputy head of the office there, also bilateral relations with the UK. I was in that office for I think 6 years before I did a tiny transition through Netherlands back to Latvia. And then I work also for the office of the Latvian president in the chancellery, which was the economics advisor, but really it's more like a hands-on person to advise, and let's say president is a representative person in our country, and they get invited to quite a lot of platforms where there is also a need for coordination, guidance, like climate summit, Davos, some really interesting platforms. So it was a really good and interesting opportunity for me to explore technologies, is what we're going to talk about today, because as Egita is saying, competitiveness is really not just Latvia to be competitive amongst its neighbors, but really we're part of Europe, and when it comes to technology, competitiveness is on a global scale, where Europe, everybody in Europe needs to pool together their resources to make sure that I guess we don't lag behind or don't miss out on opportunities to create something and afterwards need to incorporate or buy them, but we are really the creators of them. So
being the creators, I'd say I've heard two types of people in a way when they talk about Latvians, when they talk about us. Some say that Latvia is a small country, that we can't really get anything done, that we don't know how to do business, that we know how to follow, we know how to comply, and there's basically no future for Latvia. That's kind of one type of people. And then there are people who say Latvia is very small, very ambitious, that our small size is what makes us great. We can turn around things much quicker, we have better connections, we're equipped in many ways, we have one of the best internet speeds in the world still, and things like that. How do you see kind of the Latvia's potential with a focus on IT today, I suppose, where I'm IT person in technology. Are we ambitious or the opposite?
So, if I may, I'm definitely on the part of the society, if you are grouping people like that who are seeing lots of opportunities. Because we are part of the Western world, we are part of the developed countries, and that gives us also responsibility, but also an opportunity to develop even better products and things. It gives us access to fantastic markets, and as we all know, Latvian economy is driven by export, so there's no other way for us. As we are a small country, sometimes they say we don't have internal market, we have only external market. And if you look from that perspective, Latvia has lots of things to offer. We have great talent, and in specific fields, that for a small country, I think it's obvious that you can't make the second Coca-Cola or something, but you could be a great product in a niche. And lots of Latvian companies, technology companies, are giving that and showing the example how to do that. So specifically developing technology, you need to come from the strong ecosystem. And you mentioned ICT. ICT has very strong ecosystem in Latvia. So if you would want to have ICT development in country X where there is nothing, that would be so much more difficult. Where in Latvia we have that, we have strong big companies, we have hardware manufacturers in ICT, we have fantastic software companies producing, so there's lots of talent, and then it's a question of finding your niche, finding your market opportunity, and also using that there I bridge to what I do, public support and opportunities given by EU, European Union, to find that niche and to test it through EU instruments. So I'm definitely on the side where the small country, being not so big country, is an opportunity, and specifically Latvia has very strong innovation ecosystem.
Okay, so how do, let's say I'm a business owner, I do have a niche product, IT product, how do I get, let's start with in CERN. What are the steps, what are my options, what's the probability, how do you see that, where do you come into play?
Yes, well, firstly you contact me, just as a side note. Obviously, it is a large organization, but it's also member state based. Latvian companies have access due to Latvia's participation, or let's say companies who are not members or associate members cannot participate in procurements or their R&D projects. So in a certain way, it is an open but a little bit closed laboratory which needs guidance, similar to what Egita was saying. So, but what you begin with is finding information. There's so much information out there. Actually, if we look today, and also with the new tools available that can actually narrow down information for you, so you don't have to travel the end of the internet to find things. Just the new AI tools as well, of course, they need to be verified and learned how to use them properly, but I think that there's wealth of information, so I think that's a step one. And just be inquisitive and ask, because my experience is that very often there are assumptions, and especially I think we've mentioned a lot the word small. I actually try to get rid of it in my vocabulary as well. There is no such thing as a small country. There are smaller countries than ours. So I think that mentality has to be put aside, because in many ways you're just as small as you think of yourself and your own ambitions. So when it comes to CERN, I mean, you just need to literally open up your own vision of what you think where your company should be going. And well, in case of IT companies, just throw a question at me and let's see where we can go with that question. In many ways, I think it's also about strategy for the company. So obviously CERN will not be for every company. It is a physics lab, but at the same time there are certain limitations throughout the process, but there is guidance available. And I think the first 2-3 steps is literally find information, find whom to ask that information, and then they'll guide you to procedures and processes. I think we're well actually supported in Latvia, regardless of existing opinions. I think there is actually quite a lot of support available, and it is more readily available than in bigger countries, arguably, because it's just that much more people, that much harder to give somebody a ring or a phone call. So I'd say it just all starts with being very keen on getting to know and having that vision where you can take your company. And then it's just the door is open and plan can be written with the help of us, I guess, in a certain way.
I assume it's very similar on EU level. I know there's a lot of information publicly available, and then it's possible to reach out to you. And as I know, you basically have a team in Latvia who can also support in kind of with information. But probably what's a little bit harder to find are those amazing stories. What are the latest, most maybe ambitious, or the big success stories of Latvians showing themselves in EU, in CERN, in EU? Let's start with that.
Oh yeah, which to choose? There are quite few actually, and also different sizes of the companies. But if we would look from smaller startups that have really the scaling possibilities, I would start with NACO Technologies, which is the nano-coating inventor, in fact, for hydrogen industry. So very specific, very they look at solving very specific challenge, and because their ambition is the world, and because of the industry is really growing, so it has a great potential further. So they could win EIC Accelerator, that is a grant of 2.5 million. And it's open to also other kinds of technologies, so it actually runs open call. And there are also 5 thematic areas where you can fit your particular offer or technology, but it can be also all directions, which has a scientific side, so it's deep tech company. But talking about particularly NACO technology, so I would definitely show them as a good example. And they are currently, with 2 million, they already opened and set up the pilot line to test that product, to give that to their clients. Clients are super happy about the product. So now they are already going for the next rounds and next bigger steps, which is the big manufacturing of that product, which would make them, when they succeed, it would make them very crucial for hydrogen industry, in fact. Not necessarily only in our region or something, but across. So those types of even if it's a level of idea, those types of ambitions, I'm really eager to find. I'm scouting it around Latvia and then helping to make this roadmap of different opportunities, different ways how to succeed, how to get there. It doesn't happen overnight. But it's a plan that you can realize and get there. Another company I definitely want to point out is Airones, that is manufacturer of actually robots. They make robots, but their product that they sell is the maintenance service to the wind turbines. And it's a great also fit to the existing challenge, as there are so many wind turbine parks all around, and they all now have a challenge how to get the best out of their wind turbines.
Efficiency. I think we went there on a tour together, and it's interesting how it's slowly going from robots into real prediction software with tools of AI.
So in fact it's becoming ICT company
exactly
in some
in
way,
order
which is
to predict
fantastic.
how it will age and function.
Exactly. So it's really clever business plan that they have, business offer, but also what they do with EU, they have developed the whole manufacturing with different EU help of different EU instruments, and now the latest is innovation fund that is specifically made to contribute to the growth of the companies that are helping mitigate climate change. So they got 4 million to set up a bigger robot manufacturing in Riga, and that is giving them also a chance not to make their product more expensive. So the EU is kind of taking the risks off and making the price reasonable for their offer afterwards to grow. So those are two, I think, great technology companies. Yes, they are hardware companies, but as we see, Airones, for example, kind of go even ICT direction, that they might become a data-driven company.
Okay, there could be a myth that if you take EU funding, then basically you're giving away your rights, your IP rights. It must be a myth, I'm sure of that. But can you comment, it's not about Airones specifically, but so what's the typical model? The company takes some private funding, gets some EU funding, how it typically works?
Yeah, so there are different instruments that companies go for, and each instrument has its own regulations and sites. But if you talk generally, EU really wants companies to strive, and they want companies to strive in Europe. However, we are all realistic about that as well. And in fact, when the company is getting to the level where it needs like level C investments, really big investments, then often EU funders, EU investors have problems together. So then it's often third outside EU investors that come in. So yes, so it's EU is not taking the rights. There is a bit of but currently it's shifting as well because of the geopolitics around the world, not only in our region. That about this open science, but that's not actually linked to the company. That's more the scientific problem, where they request publications about the outcomes of those projects, which somebody could steal if you want, if you really try. But good luck with understanding the value of that without the scientist involved. So in that sense, the scientists still say, especially about the breakthrough technologies, they say, you cannot get further without us. So it's still about building a company with the scientific part and the business minds together. So no, EU is completely in favor of developing the companies. Yes, EU wants to see also striving companies in all parts of Europe, and so there are instruments that are specifically made actually for less innovative regions, less developed regions. So that's also an opportunity for companies who are based in Latvia to go for those and to access even more funding than some companies who are in Germany, France, or so on.
Okay, amazing. Just need to have the ambition to go and ask, basically. What is the biggest success story for Latvians in CERN?
Well, I should start that we're associate member state only from 2021, so this engagement with industry is possible really only very recently. So probably not on the scale that Egita is now saying, but both companies are absolutely valid to be engaged also with CERN. I think I've been in this job for a year, and from what I'm seeing, I start to see also a certain ecosystem about CERN, because CERN's member states are mostly also EU member states. There are a couple who are not, but it is also tied to what Egita is saying, this development of strategic technology. CERN is one of those places where there are scientists that are experts in various domains. And they also experience a certain pressure to push their technologies out to the market. So there's programs like venture, CVC venture, sorry, the name skipped me, but it's a specific program geared towards startups. So they have identified 7 technologies at CERN, which any company in Europe, if interested, can come out to CERN and adopt and make business out of it, and vice versa. Companies, they have identified a couple of areas, sustainability, energy, aerospace, where companies are invited to CERN in various stages of their technological development to liaison with CERN and describe how CERN can actually help. Because very often it's not so much only about the money, it's actually about the technical leap, and very often for also countries like Latvia, we don't have labs of that scale or experts of that scale available, but they are there. Our scientists, that's our lab basically, and we can use that lab to leverage companies' development. So one example I can mention, Saftechnica, they have new sensors coming out this summer, radiation and radon sensors, and one of them improved the readings at CERN this summer. So in many ways, from the side of it, the success would be if they sell a lot of them, but for the company, it was a great opportunity to be able to do something which otherwise would be not possible to do here, or it would be much more costly for them to do it somewhere else. So yes, I would say that all countries do what we try to do here. So I just wanted to add a bit of spice in terms of this is not rocket science, this is a hardcore competition for development of technology. So we absolutely have to be in that competition, otherwise we will be forced to buy it, or it's a supply chain, as I get to describe with NACO technologies. NACO is in the right place in the right time, because the market is now ready for a technology like NACOs, or even Ironis. Wind energy 25 years ago was not developed. So Ironis is again in the right time, in the right place, and they arguably have a head start, because to have a product that they have today, they had to have at least quite a few years of mistakes and challenges to get to this place. So we want more of those stories of those companies that have made those leaps, and with the help of EU funding, with the help of laboratories like CERN, that can leverage challenges that Latvian companies have to develop their technology at home. So I think that is a very good way of seeing it.
Okay, yeah. Well, we're coming to the end of the interview slowly. I'll end with a little bit different question. It's gonna be a surprise in a way, yeah? I assume a lot of people are coming to you and basically saying, help me. Help me with this, help me with that. I need funding, I need technology, how can I get in CERN, what is this program, help me, help me, help me. The question to you goes, what would help you to do your job better, to achieve your goals? Is it whatever you call a goal, kind of, what would help you?
Yeah, well, so many things, but as we all strive, I think three of us at least, we are striving for excellence, right? So there are lots of things that needs to be improved in the process. But just to pick one, if there would be clear pipeline of technology developments that go through technology and get through this pipeline to the TRL 6, and if that will come together, and then it's much easier to help them in the right time.
Mm-hmm.
Because often I see, unfortunately, companies coming when they tried everything else and failed for 2-3 years, and then they come to me. And it's like, where were you 3 years ago? So it's about catching the companies, the teams in the right time, in the right technology development, and then I can plug in the opportunities that are at hand. And yes, it's not necessary for everybody to understand all the EU systems and so on, but that's my job to understand that and to provide the right time, right information.
Okay, and who could help with that? That's startup community, start an association, things like that?
Yes. It's talks in process, and I'm very eager to continue these talks. What is the best house for that? What is the best community for that, or the format of that? It could be pre-acceleration format, it could be incubator format, or something that helps technology developers to get the right help in the right time.
Okay, thank you. And Alise, what would help you?
Probably in a similar lines, because obviously we don't work just for personal goals there. We understand it's a long-term commitment, because all that we talk about here is not just 1 or 2 years. I tried, I failed. It's TRLs, it's going painfully through various stages and levels of development. So finding, as Egita said, company in the right moment where I can actually help and I can leverage is at the moment the hardest one, especially with technology, because if you have something special, you don't really want to go out and share it with the world, especially if you're in that sensitive stage. Obviously, if you have applied for public funding before and others are already aware of it, but still, a lot of things would be even, covered by some NDAs or something. So it's not as, it's a trust building, building also our own contact base and knowledge, because of course the added bonus of Egita being in Brussels and myself being embedded in Geneva is that we have our own contact base where I want to share it. I don't want to just meet experts and know them. My goal is to share them with the companies. So just like tomorrow, the day after, there will be an expert from CERN in cybersecurity who's coming to 5G territory. With my aim is to introduce him to as many tech telecoms companies as possible, because once there are projects that this person actually is aware of what's happening in Latvia, that what they are doing. So it's a kind of trust building exercise over many years. So I would say the more of those long-term, determined, ambitious companies we meet, the better, because we can help them perhaps in different stages with various different instruments that we have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. Thank you for coming. It was great.
Thank you for having us. Yes.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thanks.